Well, Renaissance man, trying to change, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my life, and a little bit about, especially the last the last 10 years. And I'm going to be completely open and honest on a few things, and I've talked about this before, but I thought, well, I'm going to talk about it again because it is important, because manhood, being a man and being masculine, being all those traits, are constantly under attack, not only by a small minorities of people, but by a lot of things, a lot of companies, a lot of people who used to be companies that were set up for men. Gillette, to name one. A lot of sports companies, Nike, a lot of things they've adopted this, I hate to use the word woke, liberal agenda, and that is especially white males or even all men who exhibit any sign of masculinity are toxic, dangerous, and a threat to society. Well, actually, it's starting to take its toll on a lot of men, because a lot of us men, yes, we are dangerous, yes, we are strong-minded, yes, we have all these characteristics, but it does not make us any more or any less toxic. It doesn't in any way negate us from being human beings. In fact, we are designed to be dangerous. And I'm going to preface this, and this is only a small part what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about a couple of things, but I'm going to preface this with, if we do not recognize that we are dangerous and recognize that we can be dangerous and we have that ability, we have all these strengths to hurt people, if you don't recognize that, then you cannot be a man of peace. You are merely ineffectual and you are nothing. We should strive to be the fullness of who we are, but the whole part of it is to channel it into what men should be, and that's protectors, men who look after things, build things, explore things, find out how to fix things, all these things. If you do not recognize that with yourself, and we should be proud of it, because it means that if you are able to control, and if you are able to discipline it, you can utilize it for a great and good purpose. Not only that, but there's an awful lot of other things, and you see all this, not just on the dangerous side, but making men look like fools, look like idiots, and you can see it on television series and in films where the man is looked to be a bumbling fool, and it's usually the woman who's got the brains. Well, it's over and over and over again that this happens, and a lot of people are getting really tired of this disingenuous and toxic evil attack on men. And you know what? And I hate the word toxic, I hate the word, I think it's repugnant, and I think it's used overly too much. Men and women can be just as toxic as each other. And I will say, I've worked as a security guard, and I've worked as a door supervisor, or what some people might call bouncers. And I will tell you something, when men and women get drunk, they're just as capable of violent behaviour. And to be honest with you, I've seen it where men get into fist fights when they're drunk. But I'll tell you something, when women get drunk, they don't get into fist fights to take off the heels. They start hitting people with the heels, and some of them have got heels that long. I had to separate a fight, and I found that I had that much of a heel sticking my shoulder afterwards. So let's dispense with this myth, this stupidity. All men and women, all men, all women have this ability to either be amazing or absolutely despicable. That sort of behaviour is just not, it just really has no effect on gender whatsoever. And we need to start destroying this myth. And we need to start bringing men up. Now, I'm lucky because, to be honest with you, I don't care what people say about me. I know my self-worth, I know who I am, and I know what I am, and I know where I'm going. And that's after an awful lot of things. And I'm speaking from experience here, because all this attack has heightened in the fact that more men are now committing suicide than ever. Boys are not learning how to be men from men. They're being doped up and pumped so full of all sorts of crap and medication and everything that suppresses how they're supposed to learn to be men. All because teachers want docile, quiet little children. And we're getting to the point where, as I said, a lot of young men now are committing suicide. A lot of older men are committing suicide. There's an awful lot of things happening. And to be quite honest with you, I was nearly in that place as well, around about 12, 13 years ago. And man, it's not easy when you're in that. I had a very, very nasty marriage. It was horrible, and I'm not going to turn around and say I was perfect and she wasn't. I had my faults like everything else, but I'll tell you something. I had a lot of her family and my ex-wife say a lot of things and do a lot of things that left me completely screwed up inside. And I had certain institutions, and there was a thing set up called Men in Relationships, Mars, who then enforced the idea that, tried saying that I was the bad guy, that all this happened, that it was all my fault because I'm a man. And because they believed that I was capable of that because I was a man and nobody else was to blame. And it got to the point where I was divorced. I moved back to Leeds to be with my family. I wouldn't go anywhere. I wouldn't do anything. And before I moved down, and I was an Olympic speed swimmer in front crawl, lifeguard. I was a martial artist and everything. And there's a lot of things that I did that I stopped doing because I got manipulated by a lot of people. And you know, the thing about men is, and I'm going to tell you about this, men are the only creatures that love without any sort of, that, you know, I can't think of the word that I'm looking for. Men are the only, it'll come back to me. We are the only creatures that will love just for the person. And when we go to love a woman, we don't just have requirements of what a woman should do to love. to make a man love them. We love the woman because we are with them, because we love that woman because of who they are. And there's a problem with women is that they don't do that. With women, it's dependence on what a man does, whether he will be loved, whether he will get the physical parts of his of the relationship, all that kind of conditional. That's the one. Men are the only creature that loves unconditionally. Women love conditionally. We love unconditionally. And this is a problem that an awful lot of men have. And because I loved unconditionally, because I had all those beliefs and everything else, I stopped doing everything that made me me, and it destroyed me completely. I went from 189 pounds up to 395 pounds. Had practically lost a lot of things that I was capable of doing. And when I moved back out of my divorce, I literally was about to commit suicide. I had 100 paracetamol, I think it was aspirin or paracetamol. I had a small bottle of Jack Daniels, and if that didn't do the trick, I had a very nice sharp knife ready to go. And I'm not just talking about going across, I'm talking about going down. And there was a couple of songs that I listened to, and anybody having problems, I love music, and there's two songs that actually saved my life. It's by a band called Man O' War. It's a metal band, and two songs, Master of the Wind and Heart of Steel. And it's just as I was settled down today, I was listening to music, and those two songs came on. And for a split second, it's always said you've got two choices on whether you'll go and do it or not. It came at the right moment where I chose not to. Now, I changed my life around. I took hold of myself. And I looked in the mirror. And again, there's an awful lot of these people saying, oh, fat acceptance, or this acceptance, or that acceptance. Look, let me be quite honest with you. If you are unhappy with how you look or how you are, go out and change it. And people say, oh, you've got to love yourself. Well, yes, you do, but you've got to hate where you are. And you've got to make the hate be your catalyst into looking at yourself and going, I'm going to go completely the other way. Doesn't mean to say you're going to hate yourself, but you're utilizing that hate of yourself to push you in a positive direction. And you've got to make that catalyst. When it comes to truth and honesty and everything, you've got to look at yourself completely truthfully and say, right, this is how it is. I got myself into that position. For me, it was eating tons and tons of crap whenever I was depressed and not doing anything. Changed that. I took control of that, took responsibility, and said, if I can get myself into this, I can get myself out. That's the first thought process of breaking the cycle. Now, people say you're going to do it gradually. Look, if you do it gradually, you'll still have all these things coming back to you. The only way to break things is to break the cycle by saying, right, everything stops, and I start doing the opposite of what got me into that. I started going to the gym. I started exercising. I started valuing myself and saying, I deserve to get back to where I was. It got to the point 2 years later, when I turned 40, I was back down to 189 pounds. And you know, it is very difficult because you have got to discipline yourself, learn to discipline yourself, learn to move forwards, learn what to do, be forgiving when you fail, but taking responsibility of that failure, learning from that failure and saying, I can get there and do this better. I'm now 51 years old in March. nearly 13 years afterwards. Now, do I have everything together that I want? No, absolutely not. Some things are still left to be desired. However, I'm moving forward with my goals. I'm moving forwards, and every time I fall, I get up and keep on going. And you know, I remember watching the film Rocky with a friend of mine, my housemate, and you know the iconic line, where he talks to his son, and that hit me, and I still listen to that, and it's a fantastic, inspiring moment where it says, if you know what you're worth and if you want what you want, go out and get it and stop blaming other people. Which is what I had to do as well, by the way. I had to put it all on myself and say, right, doesn't matter what other people are saying. You've got to move forwards and do it. And you will thank yourself and you'll move forwards. Once you've made those life decisions, stick to them and move forwards. Because the other part of being a man is integrity. And if you cannot stick to that discipline that you have for yourself, how can you claim to have integrity and to have the work ethic and everything else if you cannot stick with the choices that you have made? And these are hard. These are hard questions. They're hard. And sometimes it takes years to even start comprehending the answer to those questions. But you've got to start doing it, and you can't let anybody dictate to you what you can and cannot do. If you are in a position, whether it's work, relationship, or anything else, and it is destroying you, you've got to stand up, you've got to face it, and you've got to say, right, even if it scares the living bejeebers out of you, you've got to stand up and not back down and say, right, it ends today. I take back what is mine and do it. And if people aren't on the road with you on that, you have to leave them and go onto the road where you need to be. Your marriage, whatever it is, if you have kids, look after your kids. Do right by your kids. But if it's your marriage and your spouse is, making your life an absolute misery, she will not change, she keeps on going back to square one, or family, or whatever it is, doesn't mean to say you don't love them. It just means you got to love them away from you. And you're going to move forwards with your own life. And yes, like I said, it's harsh with what I say. Well, it's not harsh. It's the truth. Truth is neither, like I said again, truth is neither harsh, neither is it kind. Truth is truth. And you've got to value yourself. And now if you make those choices and you put into place what is good for you, what should be there, and I'm not talking about stupid little arguments that you might have with your spouse, I'm talking about real deep down issues. If you're being prevented from reaching what you need to be and somebody is not supporting you, then a man must follow their roots and go where they need to be. And if people aren't along for the ride, then leave them at the station. And I know that sounds harsh. And I know it sounds, but again, it's truth. So I wanted to do this video and share what I've been through. Like I said, I don't have everything figured out. I'm not an oracle of knowledge, but I do know this. I'm a hell of a lot better from when I was back then to where I am now. I'm stronger, I'm focused, and everything that I've wanted to do and achieve, most of it I've done. There's nothing much left now that I've got to achieve for myself. And I say that with a great amount of satisfaction. And what I want for every man, if you watch this, I want that same thing for you. To move forwards, take accountability for what you've done it yourself. Move forwards, take control of that, because you've got yourself into that position. Get yourself out, move forwards, and be proud of what you're doing. Don't go deliberately to hurt anybody or anything. I'm not advocating that, but I am saying you need to start your personal journey, and it starts by valuing yourself on who you are. And I'll be honest with you, gender actually does, in that, come second. Value yourself for who you are, value yourself for being a man, and value your principles. 3 essential things to really be moving forwards. So I hope that has helped somewhat. I hope this helps people in their time of need. Don't succumb to ending things, because honestly, there's so much more to experience. And believe me, some of the stuff I've experienced has been amazing. And you can get there, and you will have that moment, and you will do it, and you'll be like thinking, man, this is amazing. Hope that helps you all. Take care.